Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Pastor Dixon here. How's everyone on this fine Sunday evening? Pray that all is well. I'm going to sit here a few minutes and hopefully some folks will get on and we'll just see which way we're going today. I think I already laid the groundwork for it. Hey, what's up, sis? How you doing? Yeah. Everything going in your neck of the woods. All right. Yeah. Beautiful day today. Joyce Gilliard, what's going on? For those who might not know it, I'm currently in North Carolina. I'm at my halfway point for going to D.C. I'll be in Washington, D.C. Tomorrow, Tuesday, and returning late Wednesday. It's my quarterly board meeting with Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. Actually, they shortened the name. We shortened the name this year, and we rebranded. Now we're just Brady. And if we got to add anything behind that, it's United Against Gun Violence. Our tagline is all about working together. It's about reaching across the aisle and working with others in order to end gun violence. Give everybody a little bit more time, a couple of more minutes. Ms. Gadsden, Janet, Elizabeth, Rosemary, all the way from Walterboro. I see you. What's going on? Yeah, so as I said, this is Pastor Dixon for Mayor 2019. The election right now is only weeks away, November the 5th, 2019. I'm going to be asking everybody to make sure that you're putting this word out about this election. We need a heck of a turnout. I wish I could go back to some of the words I used to use, but we need one heck of a turnout in order to show this 25-year administration that the people are truly fed up and that enough is really enough. We don't want to squeak past this election with a win. We want this to be a decisive victory in favor of Pastor Dixon, of course. The only person that's in this race who has proven their loyalty, the passion for the community that I want to serve. There's nobody else in this race, including the incumbent, who has shown the care and concern that I have consistently put out for our community at all levels, from the bottom to the top, from the top to the bottom. It doesn't make me any difference. Wrongdoing is wrongdoing, and I'm going to fight in order to make sure that wrongdoing gets addressed and those who do wrong get addressed. Taisha Walterboro in the house. Yes, good to see you. A lot of you know me and have known the work I've done over the years. What a lot of people don't know is that I've never taken any money for anything that I do. I'm been fortunate enough at the ripe old age now of 67 years old, when I turned 62, having to check that box on those applications and not getting hired because of my criminal background. And I got things I could substantiate that with for those who might think it's not as bad as it is. It is. It's that bad when you got to check that box. Something that we're going to eliminate in North Charleston. Let me just put that aside. No, we're going to eliminate that box. We're going to get rid of that. Give people a chance to get out of prison and stay out. So, I started this journey, a while back, and I've never been paid for anything that I do out here. And people know one thing, that if they're in trouble, they have issues going on, that they can reach out to somebody that's going to respond to them and try their best to make things right for them, that will work on their behalf. And that's me, Pastor Dixon. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just telling you what's real. Financially, I'm on Social Security because I turned 62. So that's like $800 a month, okay? Fortunately, I got a wife who loves me, who's watching right now. Hey, baby girl. And she, after really, especially following me in 2016 and the work I was doing running for Senate, I guess it just laid on her heart. This guy, my husband, is out here trying to change the world, and I'm going to support him in whatever he does. So, fortunately, I got a wife who loves me, children who love me, and they know that the little money that I bring in, that it's going right into the community. So I don't take money for what I do. So don't let nobody tell you that. Please don't. I've heard rumors that folks say I work for Keith Summey. Whoever told anybody that is out of their darn mind, done lost it, straight up. Even if it was a legitimate job, I wouldn't work for Keith Summey, because there are repercussions that follow that. There's strings attached. Okay, that's why we need a new mayor. Won't be any strings attached to the things I do. Okay, I don't do that reciprocation thing. But thank you all for getting on. We got a good group here, and I wanted to talk about the coalition, People United to Take Back Our Community, how it got started and things like that, and where we were working at. For a long time, getting on now about 8 years ago, 7 years ago, I was working with Elder James Johnson for a while. Although we're no longer working together, to him be his way and to me be mine. And we were approached at one point by our good friends who ultimately would become part of the coalition, Brother Therese Legree with the South Carolina Rhinos Car Club, and also D. Jones, president of Sitting on Chrome Car Club. And they came to talk to us about the fact that they were being harassed by the police in North Charleston because of, profiling. Nothing more than profiling. Here these brothers, hard-working brothers and sisters in the car clubs, driving nice ride, fat rims on them, TV screens. T-Roy been in the house, that's for sure, sitting on chrome. But, nice rides. And the police, I guess they thought that these were dope dealers. I'm not guessing that. I know that's what they thought. That's what's called profiling. Look at some brothers with some nice rides, got rims on them, and got a little nice system in there, some TV screens in there. Oh, they must be selling dope. So they were pulling over these brothers and sisters 2-3 times a week in North Charleston, harassing them. So they came to myself and Johnson at that time, and knowing, being old folks at that time too, that, I knew that we didn't really have that big of a chance relating to a younger demographic, because being old, even though, I have a way of getting along with everybody, but making that collaborative effort, forming that union between D and Sitting on Chrome, Rez and South Carolina Rhinos, that kind of bridged the gap between the old school with the gray hair and the new school. And that's how the coalition formed. We became the old school, new school coalition, because I knew that in partnering up with the younger demographic, we might have a chance to reach a younger crowd and to change those lives right there. Well, we put together a plan in order to address the issue with law enforcement. And that plan was real simple. Everything that we did, every event that we had, we invited law enforcement to be a part of it, and North Charleston to be a part of it. I wanted law enforcement to get to know these young brothers and sisters and know that they were upstanding citizens who worked good jobs and took their money and invested them in their money in their vehicles, not selling dope. And they had no right to be profiled in that manner and harassed in that manner, because they were just common, ordinary, upstanding citizens who happened to be men and women of color, and who happened to take their money and invest their money in nice cars and rims and things, whereas others might invest them in golf clubs and jet skis and nobody says a thing. So ultimately the plan worked. for South Carolina rhinos and sitting on chrome, because law enforcement got to know their club logos, and they would leave them alone because they knew that they were part of the coalition. But the other car clubs and bike clubs in the area were still are in a lot of ways suffering the same harassment. But some of the earlier things that we did, other than our first event, I believe was like the summer of 2012 over right off of not McMillan, but right off of Cosgrove and Spruill. No, Reynolds Avenue and Spruill, as a matter of fact. We had Sheriff Al Cannon as one of the speakers and everything. It was a really nice event, a lot of cars. Some of these things that I'm talking about, if you want to take a minute and go to my page when we're finished or whatever, look at my photo albums. There's over 300 photo albums going all the way back to the beginning. And you can see some of the photos that were taken at that time of the events that we actually put on in order to bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement, and then other events with children and things like that. I'm gonna make a side note because you all have seen me posting before. Guess whose picture's not in there? Yeah, I'm gonna just put that out there. Look through every album I got on there and see whose picture's not there. Okay, but getting back to it, we actually started more in the stop the violence issue with something that happened over in February of 2013 over in the Wayland. Within 8 hours of each other, two unrelated murders happened. The first one happened in the middle of the night over at by Charlie O's, the club over there, Charlie O's, off of Dorchester Road, where a young man, Miguel Snipe, 22-year-old Miguel Snipe, was murdered there. And less than 8 hours later, over on Saratoga in the Wayland, another young man, a 19-year-old by the name of Rodriguez Henderson, was murdered there. Unrelated, guns in the hood. And we came together and folks talk about us in the press conference, but we had a press conference in order to just say, hey, we're tired of these guns in the community. We need to do something about the guns. We need to partner up. And there's actually articles online. If you want to Google it or whatever, you can see the articles where we talked about working with law enforcement and everything in order to fix the problem in the community of gun violence. This was 2013, folks. 2013. This is 6 years later. And how many bodies we done lost since then? Simply because we tried to partner up and law enforcement in North Charleston didn't partner with us. Shout out to Chief Reggie Burgess, who's doing a great job right now in trying to bring it to where it should have been years ago, and maybe we wouldn't have lost as many lives. I trust that brother, for sure. But that was February 2013. And that was a double homicide. March, less than 1 month later, in Collins Park, a 25-year-old by the name of Antonio McCullough, gunned down, murdered. Now, this was a distressing situation for me as we went to address it. Okay, I was basically myself and another member, the original member of the coalition that was with us, Tanya Parker. Tanya met me over in Collins Park and a reporter to talk about what was going on and how, we're hoping that we were going to be able to move forward with the community support that we never really got. And what was distressing about this situation, other than the fact that a life was lost, there was another problem that came with the councilwoman for that district, Councilwoman Dorothy Williams, who was the councilwoman then. She's been councilwoman now about 30 years, so that's been about 24 years in at that time. Apparently, when she did an interview then, she had some kind of problem with the fact that we were in her district trying to stop murders. I don't understand that. She had that angry woman syndrome in the interview, and raving and ranting about the fact that we were in the community trying to stop the violence. There's something wrong there, people, especially as we're looking right now at an election season right now, and this councilwoman is not only in office right now, but is running for re-election. Okay, needless to say, and I ain't scared to say it, I'm not a supporter of hers, and I'm never going to be. I love her, and if she's had an epiphany about changing her ways or whatever, I think what she needs to do right now, and what the community needs to do, is make sure that she gets out of the way in the elected position and supports somebody who's progressive and ready to move forward, somebody who's younger and has been in this fight out here for years, and there are pictures of him doing what he's been doing. And I'm talking about Jesse Williams for District 6. Shout out to Jess. But here we are in the community fighting to save lives. Later on, another month later, that was February, was that double homicide. March was the homicide in Collins Park. In April of that year, we had the Wayland Children's March Against Gun Violence. The Wayland Children's March Against Gun Violence. We had street full of people marching. We had some of the hottest DJs marching with us too in the state. DJ Boss Hogg was with us. Man, Papa Smurf. I see you, Smurf. Yeah. Man, we hit the streets with the children, with the parents of the community in the Wayland, talking about ending the gun violence. And what was amazing about that march is the then chief of police. He was just appointed the chief of police prior to this march, Chief Driggers. Chief Driggers met us in the streets that day, and he marched in the streets with us that day. The Children's March Against Gun Violence, the Wayland Children's March Against Gun Violence. He marched with us that day. He was newly appointed and got out in the streets, and he specifically said that day, "You're going to see me out in the streets trying to make a difference in these communities, and so we can end this gun violence." I was like, thank you, Jesus. Man, that's all we've been waiting on. That's all we've been hoping for, is a partnership with law enforcement. And my good friends, that was the last time I saw Chief Driggers in the streets, marching, talking about ending gun violence, standing with us, with the coalition in the streets trying to end gun violence. That was it. It's crazy. It's crazy. A few months later, New Year's Day, some of you all will remember it. On New Year's Day, the night of New Year's Eve, there was an altercation at Club Crucial up on Ashley Phosphate. And them boy left there, and somebody got it in their head they just gonna go to the homes of the person they got into it with and shoot through the door. So the first thing, they were over on Aintree Street, knocked on the door. The mother was coming to the door. They fired through the door. They wounded that mother. But over in the Wayland, Janet Royal wasn't that fortunate. Over in the Wayland, somebody knocked on that door, and they fired through the door when they heard somebody coming, and they killed Janet Royal in the Wayland. And out of all of these shootings in the Wayland, I ain't never seen the councilwoman show up for any of those. The same one that's asking for your vote right now this year. I ain't never seen her show up in the aftermath of these shootings in her district. People, that ain't right. That is not right. Why is it that somebody or people who are not elected to serve the community showing up in order to help the community and prevent gun violence, while those that are elected to serve the people won't even come out? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm hoping that you get it, and that when it comes time to vote, absentee voting starts October the 6th. You have to be registered to vote in this election no later than October the 4th. Get registered now. Go to scvotes.org if you have a driver's license or a valid South Carolina ID. You can do it online. Get registered now. Ray and Pookie and them, y'all boy, any y'all boy, girl been to the penitentiary. If you off paper, get registered to vote and vote in this election. District 6, vote for Jesse Williams. District 7, vote for Greg Perry Sr., who's running against Sam Hart. District 5, vote for Jerome Hayward. And for the mayor's seat, there's only one viable option. And that's that one that you've seen out there in the community. You might not really know him, but you've seen that red scarf that says enough working on your behalf. And that's Pastor Dixon. The only one that, if anybody in here get any trouble, anybody on here get any trouble, you know the one out of the 5 that's running for mayor, the one that you can call and will respond is Pastor Dixon. So we need to stop. And we need to definitely just get to that point where we look at the realities of our community. I'm going to go back to Dorothy Williams again, because Dorothy Williams ain't never pushed for no fair wages for nobody out here. Nobody. She's allowed the community that she's been the representative of for 30 years to go backward instead of getting better. No street lights, no sidewalks, can't even get a speed bump in our community. Instead of talking about that's DOT. Well, it might be DOT, but somebody have to do something. That community in the Wayland, the communities that are under her care, Russelldale, Ferndale, all these other communities, these communities deserve representation just like anybody else deserves representation. And for some reason or other, she's thought that she's been able to do it and get away with it. Look here, that dog ain't gonna hunt no more. And I'm calling on everybody on this live to go tell somebody, y'all need to go vote. We need to go vote. And all those folks that's out here talking about, well, you know, I'm not voting because it don't help nothing. Let me just tell you something. We tried that method and it has not worked. We tried not voting and it hasn't worked in our behalf. So now it's time to try something new. Every time somebody tells you that it doesn't work, just remind them. That's what we've been trying for the last 20 years. And you see what it got everybody on the South End. We need to try something different. We try something. Let's go to the polls and vote and then see if something works. I guarantee you, for Pastor Dixon, from my mouth to God's ear, you elect me mayor, 2 years from now, you're going to be sitting back saying, man, we didn't know that our community could have it this good. And when I say community, I mean the entire community, from the gated communities on the north end to the blighted communities on the south end. Everybody is going to sit back and say, man, we can breathe. We ain't got to worry about going to the mall and get shot. Folk getting paid right on their jobs. And our children. That's a shame. We have 8 of the worst schools in South Carolina in North Charleston. And how are we expecting to translate that into successful, long lives and prosperous lives for our children? It's not going to happen. And no, that is outside of the mayor's authority. The mayor doesn't have any authority inside of the school board, okay? As a matter of fact, I was at a community event, the Neighborhood Association, Neighborhood Civic Club in Midland Park the other day, and Miss Williams, Councilwoman Williams was there, Dorothy Williams was there, and also one of the other opponents, Ashley Peel. The other ones didn't show up. I don't know what happened, but I guess, you know, for me that's important. But the Ms. Peel, candidate Peel, made a comment about the school board not being under the mayor's auspices, and Councilwoman Williams, she was like, yes, you know, like that was something great to say, that, you know, that, oh, well, now that just proves everything why we're not involved with the school board. But listen, the mayor's office offers a big bully pulpit, and he has a lot of pull. And he's never used it in order to make sure that our 8 failing schools that just happens to have children in there, poor and children of color, he has never done anything to make it right for those children. But if you look at his page, I'm not insecure in what I do. Go look at his Facebook page and everything, and the city government pages. You see him, he got a bunch of little black churn around him and carrying on, patting them on their heads, and everything's hunky-dory and carrying on, when the reality is, these kids live in a war zone. And they're being set up for prison because he's allowed failing schools to thrive in his own city, a city that brings in more revenue than any other city in South Carolina. And you can't tell me that we can't fix the problem. Shout out to Kevin Hollinshead, school board member. We went to Atlanta and looked at 3 Title I schools in Atlanta that are thriving. Thriving. Those kids are doing great. Why? Because they got some people there that care. I'll just tell you how they got to that point, too. One of the ways they did was they voted the old school board out. They got rid of the old school board and replaced it with people who care about the people, not their own agendas. Shout out to Charleston County School Board. Y'all better get ready, because we're going to replace y'all too. I don't care how much money y'all get behind you. Same thing to Colleton County. Y'all got to go. Y'all got to go. Straight up. So that was the beginning of the coalition. That's where we started at. And the coalition, I got a good friend who was part of the original coalition, who likes to run around saying it's not an official organization, And I must say, no, it's a virtual organization. Anybody can be a part of the coalition who wants to be a part of the coalition. Only thing that I ask is that when things are going on, that you show up. We don't always get that support, and most folks haven't heard that. But I would just ask that when things are going on, don't wait till something happened to you to show up. Show up for your community. That's what the coalition is all about. We don't be asking nobody for no money. I get so tired of these organizations, these so-called civil rights organizations. The first thing they say is if you got $25. Man, they need to stop begging and get out here and help people. And I know it takes money to do things, but my little Social Security money done fairly well with the things that the coalition did. Shout out to Michelle Felder and others out there. That's for sure. I see you, Papa. There must be an understanding that those who are merchandising our community, now is the time to put an end to them. This is the end of their season. We're entering into a new season, a season of growth and prosperity. We're entering into a season where champions will be elected to public office. A Jesse Williams, who's been out in the streets grinding in District 6 off his own dime, helping children out, having programs, feeding folk, giving away clothes, educating, reading Bible to them, the whole 9, trying to help his community off his own dime, while the person who was elected to represent that community only shows up every 4 years. That ain't right. We're entering into a new season where the community is going to stop and say, enough is enough. We are not going to allow our elected officials to get away with this kind of hypocrisy anymore. We will repeal and replace every elected official in order to get people who are going to fight on our behalf. And how do you know those people? That's the question. How do you know those people? Check the record. Check the record. You can't tell me about what Dorothy Williams has done for the community, even though I'm quite sure within city council chambers there's something, but there's no stamp outside of there. There's no footprint anywhere. Check the record when it comes to Mayor Summey. Just go walk around the South End. That's the record. 25 years. And that's the best we can do down on the South End? No grocery store? No street lights? Yes, repeal and replace. That's right, every last one of them. It's time for a new day, people. Either you're going to be a part of the solution or you're going to be a part of the problem. And the only way to be a part of the solution is to look at the real people that's out here seeking office, that's seeking your vote, and to get behind them, and to get behind them solid. Ain't no time for flam. Ain't no time for flogging. You need somebody in the mayor's seat and in the council seat who not only understands the plight of those who don't have, but will fight for you and on your behalf. Y'all done seen me. Let the works I done speak for me. That ain't just a song for me, that's life. Straight up. If you don't believe what I'm talking about, Google Pastor Thomas Dixon. Please put the pastor in there when you Google me, Pastor Thomas Dixon. Because if you don't, if you just put Thomas Dixon, this Ku Klux Klan dude is going to show up. And that ain't me. I ain't trying to feel that. I'll be talking about, look at Pastor Dixon, the Klan guy. Nah. I've been born black, and I've been black from way back. But that'll never stop me from being a man of the people, by the people, and for the people. All of the people. It's time for everyone in our community to be able to breathe. The darn state motto is while I hope, I breathe. While I breathe, I hope. I mean, we got some people ain't got no hope. It's time to restore hope. But we're not going to get it based on the people who are trying to get back in office right now. They done already showed us what we're not going to have. They've showed us that. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Don't fall for the fish fry. Don't fall for the cookout. Don't fall for that state of the city address that's like Wonderland or something, that never talks about the problems that our city deals with. I guarantee you, when I'm elected mayor, the first thing we're going to do is talk about the problems, because if we don't talk about the problems, we can't fix them. Then we'll back that up with what we're doing to better the city. People first. That's the only way to get further. So, the coalition, the page is right there. There are 2 pages actually with the coalition. Please feel free to send out a request for approval or whatever, and just continue to understand that the concept of the coalition is that we all work together, and we all need to be willing to step up to the plate and get involved. We can't keep sitting back and allowing those who are not benefiting us as a community, top to bottom, bottom to top, as a community, those who are not trying to benefit everybody, they have no business trying to represent anybody. So this is Pastor Dixon. I'm just trying to help folks. I'm trying to make sure that when we have, until we get a full service grocery store down on the low end, that the Andrews Market and all those other small little stores down there, that they have some fresh produce in there, and that they stop selling these high sodium products, and that the first thing that our kids walk in when they go to buy some candy or something is the pornography over to the side, and quit marketing our communities full of beer and wine and cigarettes. Somebody got to tell them stop killing us, right along with the fact that that a lot of those spots open air drug deals right there. We're going to make sure that 5-0 doing what they need to do at those spots too. Ain't nobody above the law. Nobody. And a lawless state is something that we deserve. We deserve better. We deserve better than that. I see you, Papa. The homeless, that's right. We have a situation with homeless people that does not have to be that way. I talked about Naval Hospital last time I was on live, and I'm going to talk about it more, especially because I believe that it's being preserved for me to win this election so we can really turn it into the useful facility that it needs to be. And I ain't getting ready to sit around talking about money and all this here, especially when we know that there's surplus funds of some type. And you take that surplus fund and spend it on the people, Not all of it, because you need a surplus. There always has to be emergency funding available. There has to be that. But we cannot We cannot allow people to suffer. Anytime that we put people on the back burner, we have neglected our obligation to God, our country, and each other. And under my administration, that dog ain't gonna hunt no more. We gonna take care of one another. We gonna love one another. We gonna take care of one another. We gonna stop shooting one another. I don't care whether it's white folks shooting white folks, because somebody said, talking about the other day, well, what about this black on black shooting again? Well, look at that former principal that shot his wife in the head. Let's talk about that. Okay, that's white on white crime. So let's just be real about this whole thing, and that's all I'm gonna do is be real. I come to represent the people, all of the people, and most of you know me, that I've stood up with everybody from the Jewish community to the Muslim community to the white community to the black community. I've stood with the wealthy and I've stood with the poor. I've stood with the young and the old. Doesn't make me any difference. I done stood with Ray Ray and Pookie and them in the courtroom. Hey, it doesn't make me any difference. If I can help somebody, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm about fed up with people who have the power to help other people, but they don't do it. So this is Pastor Dixon. I'm going to be signing off here. And in the morning, I get to go on into D.C. and we'll talk about with the Brady campaign, about Brady United, about what we can do about this gun violence, especially once I take this seat. Because the reality is, and I have about a 7 to 9 point plan to implement as soon as I get in the office. We're going to turn this gun violence thing around. One thing you'll never hear from me is what we heard from the current mayor a couple of years ago when there was a shooting in the mall. His answer to the problem was, we can't raise your kids. I guess talking about black kids or something like that. We can't raise your children, and that's just avoiding the responsibility that he raised his hand up. I solemnly swear to serve and protect. Look, if you ain't gonna serve and protect, then get out the way and let somebody else do it that will. Pastor Dixon for Mayor, 2019. Check out my website, www.dixonformayor, the number 4, not F-O-R, but Dixon, the number 4, mayor.com. And follow me on Twitter. I think it's Dixon for Mayor, same thing, number 4, 2019. Instagram, the same thing. Holla at your boy, because it's time for a change. I see some real folks on this on this live. I see some real folks, and see, we gonna put real folks to work, changing our community. Because if we don't do it, ain't nobody gonna do it for us. But if we keep following behind these folks right now, that think that they're going to get your vote, if you go out and vote these people in or vote by not going to vote, and they get back in again, you better believe that in the next 4 years to 10 years, the color coding on the south end of North Charleston will have changed from black to white. I'm going to put that right there and leave it just like that. Get somebody registered to vote. Not only get them registered to vote, let them know that's only the first part of the process. The winning comes when we go vote. Please get ready, and vote for Dixon for Mayor. Vote for Jesse Williams for District 6. Vote for Greg Perry Sr. for District 7. Vote for Jerome Hayward for District 5. Vote for Virginia Jameson for District 3. And then I'll work with the rest of them, okay? But I sure don't feel like working with anybody that's still going to be loyal to Mayor Summey. That's for sure. I don't feel like fighting with nobody. We got too much work to do to be fighting. We need to work together, and we need to make this thing happen. Real Talk with Rajon in the house. Yes, sir. Well, listen, I appreciate y'all. I got to get a little rest because in the morning I got to make the rest of that drive on into D.C. You can trust me. I might not be in the community right now, but my heart is always there. If y'all need anything, y'all need any signs or whatever, hit me up. My wife, she's on board for sure. Trust me, my wife's on board for sure. And she'll help out with the deliveries of signs or whatever you might need. And if you see something, say something. You see somebody bothering my signs out there, please let me know. Take a picture. Do like my man Elvin Spates did. Take a picture. Elvin, hey man, shout out to you. Elvin was like, yep, okay, I got him, Pastor, right there. See him? And I could work with that. If you ever see anybody bothering the Dixon for mayor signs, please take a picture. And the bigger the fish, the bigger the catch. I'm going to leave that right there. Listen, y'all take care. Man, I love y'all. Please pray for me as I pray for you. And pray for our community. Because it's time for our community to come out of 400 years of Egypt and get to the promised land. Y'all ready? I am. Peace out. I love y'all, man.